You this wonderful day, the 13th of June 2024. This is Smart Means Business on Smart 24 TV. It's always a delight to have you join us and get inspect particular topical issues that come in on a national, regional, as well as international level, basically. My name is Doreen Kemcha. I'm joined by my colleague. Welcome, Andrew.
Very welcome. Thank you.
How is the day this day?
It's good.
It's good.
Of course, we are anticipating. We can't wait for the budget to be read.
Yeah.
And
the excitement.
I don't think there is any excitement about Ugandans because, according to the budgetary reactions, when you find out people from down there, they'll tell you that back in the time, people used to be excited of the budget. But of course, with these days, with the rampant corruption that is going on, I mean, people have lost interest because they can already tell what the budget is going to be like, and they know what the state of the budget and what does it mean to their livelihood. Sure. They entirely know it. So they're not excited.
Do you feel the mood is more anticipatory? Are we anticipating something good or bad?
Of course, people anticipate the worst.
Anticipate the worst.
Because of what has been already going on. Already the governor of the Bank of Uganda already talked about the coming inflation, and talking about heading into election and all that. So why would the Ugandan really be so excited? Of course, they know exactly. We know that our public debt is increasing every other day, and it's anticipated to be to about now from 97 trillion to about 110 trillion. So.
And that is what is down on road. It's not all gloom and doom. We do get a couple of other, little bits of snickers of hope coming in. But getting into Smart Means Business, we're going to be looking at a couple of things. We've got anticipating, of course, the budget speech for today. What is at stake for Ugandans today? You have already given us, Andrew, just a hint about, what is out there, the feelers on the road, and what the basic, the average Ugandan is thinking about. But we'll also be looking at some of the economic forecasts, really, and also projections, as well as recaps on what was there the previous year and what basically was the allocation like, and what were they anticipating, what were people hoping for, the disappointment, the accolades, where were they in regards to the budget allocation. Insight, when it comes to business insight, we will be looking at infrastructure investments ahead, new projects and regional developments. We would want to hear as well from you. Please get onto our social media handles and let us know what you think. Coming in within Karibu, we shall have a look at what is happening in Kenya. Andrew, you talked about some inflation happening. Most of the countries actually are within Africa are in upheaval. There is quite a lot of inflation. You've got 33% coming in from different places. Exactly. You've got Zimbabwe out of, I don't know how to paint the picture in Zimbabwe. it's a totally different thing. But as for it's
Zimbabwe
been years
is political.
and years.
It's political if we are to really look into that perspective, sanctions, and it's more like every other leader that comes in. There is nothing much they can change.
Nothing much.
It's more like they walk onto the same script, and all this is, and why this inflation? It's due to what we call the Africanization of the different government, giving Africans
Africanization or selfishness, plain selfishness.
Africanization. It's not plain selfishness.
Is Africanization selfishness?
No, because.
What do you mean?
Just like we talk about what's Westernization? It's because I'll tell you the truth is that if you consider Europe, the European citizen comes first when it comes to service delivery. So
because there is accountability.
Accountability. So it's what was also needed in Africa.
Yeah. So
Africanization. Africans first.
Yes. And is that what is lacking? That is what is lacking.
It's lacking on 95% of the continent.
And that is why you mentioned, indeed, Andrew, that in most cases, every leader that comes into a country such as Zimbabwe comes in for their own case. But do you think in one way or another, it's because the situation is out of control? You have had different global stakeholders come in, international, really, financial stakeholders coming in and advise the governor, the bank, the bank governor in Zimbabwe, and ask him to please make particular particular policy reforms and do ABCD, and they go against that. When it came to, you know, funding a couple their interventions in another war-torn country, they went. That was a direct, blatant opposite of what they were supposed to do, and it skyrocketed. The inflation skyrocketed and went, and they just kept on, you know, in denial, playing it safe and projecting a different picture. So is that selfishness or another level of each African leader coming in with their own intention, or it is just a blatant disregard for our fellow citizens?
I think it's disregard what you just mentioned. Now, because I ask myself, who among the African leaders comes out and is concerned about Zimbabwe? Yeah. That's the first question. I mean, no one really cares. And it all comes back to when we have a one market as the entire Africa. But of course, I don't know, for Zimbabwe's case, to what degree have they utilized the SADC? Because it's part of the regional groupings. But now you see the weakness in also the different regional groupings, talking about COMESA, talking about ECOWAS, SADC, and all this. So that already shows that there is disintegration amongst those regional groupings, because it's every person's responsibility to foresee that these are our brothers in Africa. They are just like us. What they're going through, we can also go through the same situation. We are not in any way different.
Do you think other countries haven't tried to mediate in this particular instance?
Not to a great extent.
We've had, why do you think it hasn't really been so fruitful? You've had a couple of neighboring countries to Zimbabwe, including, I think, South Africa, come out and try to intervene and give them a couple of advice on what to do. What do you think is going wrong? Was Mugabe a different character altogether, that he did not listen in any way?
He was the best president they have ever had.
Mugabe?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. But he left the country in a mess.
Let me tell you something.
He left the country in a mess. On the outside, maybe.
Okay, then why is Magufuli dead? Perhaps Magufuli would end up in the same situation Zimbabwe is in now if he was still alive.
But let's talk about...
If you're to look between the lines deeper.
Andrew, this conversation won't end. This conversation won't end, because now that we're bringing in the late Magufuli, it's a totally different thing. But let's dive into the introspection. Let's dive into all eyes on Uganda. There's a lot of anticipation, you know, being felt, the undertones of anticipation. Of course, you have all the departments, all the different agencies waiting in for the address today, waiting in for, you know, what is going to happen, where's the allocation going to be, the budgetary allocation, and why? What is the justification for that? Now let's recap. Let's take just a recap. Remember, just as we mentioned yesterday and from last week, really, there was a transition from sector budgeting towards program-based budgeting. So right now you have most of the fixation really on different programs that are supposed to be cohesively running so as to realize the National Development Plan 3 outcomes and goals.
Loopholes in it.
Yes, of course it did have loopholes, but let's get to the budget and what was identified last time. Remember, let's try to find out, just having a sneak peek, and then see whether we can basically align it and have a basis of comparison for this year after today. If you get to notice, according to the development plans implementation programs, you had quite a chunk actually get into debt repayment, which was allocated 183 trillion. And no wonder you say, yes, we are still quite indebted. You had human capital development getting 9.5 trillion. You had integrated transport infrastructure and services getting 4-point-something trillion. Governance and security, 7.6 trillion. Private sector development, 1 trillion, you know, and a couple of dots. Agro-industrialization, 1.8. Energy, sustainable energy development, 1.3 trillion. Regional development, 1 trillion. Legislation, oversight and representation, that's under the Parliamentary Commission, coming in at 945 billion. Looking at the COAs, and this is still under transport, integrated transport infrastructure and services. You have governance and security, as well as agro-industrialization. Do you think a lot is going to shift away from that, or those are still core areas?
I'll still feel these are core areas because talking about agri-industrialization, I'd first drive it back a bit, because agriculture, the backbone. And we've seen for over the years since Uganda got independence, when we had the traditional crops which we used to get money from, that is coffee, cotton,
tea, tobacco.
But now, of course, over the years, we've seen what we call a revolution. Not a revolution, but can I say some kind of a transition from other, exports, which we're actually getting money from. Now hash of avocado is quite a big deal as we speak right about now. So agro-industrialization, I still feel I would think it would still, nothing should divert when it comes to allocation. Because if the only challenge is that we are exporting these in a raw format. But now, if we can just add value to them, we would actually hit the mark we need.
As I think what has been noticed, there has been a song, like I said, it has been a song, because this has been going on for quite a while, all the way from the top, really. And sometimes the president comes across as the vision bearer. And when he says basically that, sometimes he says, I have a team, but when it comes to vision and vision bearing, he has been singing this song for quite a number of years about value addition. But very recently the a coffee facility came up, and then you've had lots of export oriented efforts being put towards what else can we add to our coffee, to our vanilla, and of course to the fruits as well. You've got quite a lot of efforts coming in for drying them and lots of other things that are coming in within that particular niche. Do you think this is coming off? Do you think the pace is actually as fast as it should be, given that we have quite a huge global, untapped global market for this? Is our pace good, or it's still a little bit sluggish?
It's a little bit sluggish if you to compare the idle population that we have, because I believe the population participating into this agriculture, in being empowered, it would be way more than what we have. So I think we are lagging behind in that line, and grateful that last time we had the biggest allocation put into human capital development, and all in line, because I consider this human capital development. Now, for example, in the agriculture sector, how best can these farmers be empowered? We have extension services. To what degree are these people really delivering to the expectations? But I think there is still there is a gap in that line. So we are not moving at the pace we're supposed to. If we can involve the required population entirely, and not because even the biggest population is more into subsistence, kind of, and the president has always been talking about that, it's transforming from subsistence to commercial agriculture. Next level. But are we ready for that transition? And how many people right now, if we have to say, okay, now we're going commercial, to be honest, what percentage of the population would be in position to tap into that and sustain it? There is tapping it, but sustainability is also key. So I feel like we haven't really gotten to that point. To the point we will.
But let's recap really on the theme then. That was 2023-24, and still it is the same theme that is running throughout. Full monetization for this financial year. Full monetization of the Ugandan economy through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, as well as digital transformation and market access. And this same theme really is still there. We've got commercial agriculture, full monetization of the Ugandan economy through commercial agriculture. You've got industrialization, let's repeat again, expanding and broadening services, as well as digital transformation and market access. Now, you'll also know that a couple of other program allocations in the budget last year were sustainable urbanization and housing. Let's rate each. Yes, and that was going for 524 billion. Sustainable petroleum development, that's 447 billion. Administration of justice, that's 432 billion. Natural resources, climate change, land and water management, 426 billion. Innovation, technology development and transfer, 256 billion. Tourism development, yes, you're going to critique that. Tourism development, 248 billion. Public sector transformation, 228 billion. Manufacturing, 218 billion, and still much more.
Much more.
Yes. What do you think about tourism?
Well, we had a report earlier this year, and it was in line with Uganda's tourism figures, which hit quite a record high. And, it's quite very interesting that some of the programs which perhaps maybe underlooked when it comes to funding initiatives, the private sector is actually contributing quite a huge deal when it comes to, ensuring that these sectors are boosting up. And I think this is the role of government, to be in position to notice that, they are trying so hard to this sector and they are making this happen. And the challenge is that in Uganda is one of the countries whereby it's more like people are used to making it out without the help of the government to some degree.
Actually, on one side, really, coming to talk about that, there has been quite a lot of mama rings in the background, and some of these mamas have actually come up and attacked some of these entities, saying we are always a step behind Rwanda. We even mentioned it yesterday with just had a little bit of focus on it with Mercy when we were talking about it, whether it is something to do with the fact that we have more of the gorillas. Rwanda is really it's reaping quite a lot from this. So what is it? Why is it that their pace is so fast and we are still stuck behind? When you look at Poet recently, the Pearl of Africa, exhibition and all that, yes, there was an improvement according to the stakeholders and all those that have been keenly watching. They say that there was a remarkable improvement in the way Uganda is coming across. But then we still have quite a lot to lobby, especially in getting different stakeholders from different countries. The awesome football matches, can we get onto Times Square? Can we do that and really highlight Uganda? Then when to the stakeholders, to the players in the export, they are complaining. They are totally saying the way Uganda is represented in agribusiness and the export potential, it is so shabby. Yes, it is so shabby on some of the expositions that have been there, the expos actually that have been there. You've got so many booths that are empty because some of them, for one reason or another, logistically were not able to travel. But even the little that is there, sometimes you have quite a number shining. Where we shine is the taste. Our coffee, awesome. Our vanilla, perfect. Our different, baskets and the different arts and all that, amazing. But I think the way cohesively that we are packaging this is not up to global standards. So what do you think can be done? Should it be more or less a more coordinated effort? Yes, between the government and as well as all the different stakeholders at the different levels? Or should the government come in and push wholeheartedly from the very top? Because it's the one that can be able to do so with all the monies that are there. Yeah, in the first place, I'm grateful for those that try to represent Uganda, regardless of what. They spend a lot of their monies getting there. So it goes back to the statement that I made, that it's a country, and it's really hard for you to make it out there in a competitive global, space as a private individual from a third world country. Alone. Yeah. Because remember, because now we're talking about branding in these incidents, and branding means financing. It means money. The funds have to be available for you to have the requirements. Otherwise, these very individuals, yes, fine, they're representing, but we don't think about the financial constraints that befall them. After that, okay, they have represented, but now they are back to this country. And I think by the time they invest in that, they're expecting that the government will as well come in and hold their hands and be able to also push them through. And we actually had a word coming in from Mr. Kanyije, the CEO for KK Foods, and he was very bitter, and he said, you know what, we have literally put our lives on hold for this. We have done everything we can. We have moved to the farmers down, our outgrowers. We have helped them with different services, and yet different extension services officials are there, and they're not really reaching down because they're saying they don't have the logistics to get down to the farmers. In addition to that, we have tried as much as possible to reach out and tap into the potential there. People are waiting for Uganda's fresh produce. They are literally putting orders, but guess what? The anger, the bitterness comes in the fact that sometimes these orders have to be cancelled 1 one, because the infrastructure is failing.
The infrastructure
is failing. The cold infrastructure, the cold chain is totally non-existent. And then in addition to that, you have all these gaps with the planes, with the transportation. There has been a decrease in the cargo planes coming to Uganda. So most of them have been saying, can we basically even break even if we use the Kenyan route? You know, all these different things. And he was really bitter and saying, why doesn't the government come in and help us? We are pioneers. We are be able to reach out to thousands of outgrowers. Why is the government not helping us? And yet you keep on hearing in different news about how ABCD from Turkey and ABCD from the UAE and India is being given tax breaks. Why aren't we being helped?
Yeah,
do you think he's right in feeling like that?
I think he's right. Because in the first place, currently, when you in diaspora, there is something that is going on, as we see quite a number of Ugandans in dismay, protesting, you know, the corruption in this country. And I'm thinking, what other people perceiving the country at that particular time? So we need to take a look at so many underlying factors. Okay, internal factors. And these internal factors are pushing for initiatives outside. And these initiatives outside are definitely giving a bad picture for the country Uganda. And that is going to impact our exports to a great extent. However much we talk about value addition and all that, because I'll tell you the truth that even the products that we consume, for example, like South Africa, take a look. It's just the branding that is actually perhaps that is amazing, but the quality is not really that good. But why? It comes back to a perception index. So what is the perception index of Uganda to Europe, to America, as of today, 2024?
There's still quite a lot to be done. But the great thing about this, and I don't think even with whatever outcome comes out today in regards to budgetary allocation, I don't think there's going to be quite a decrease when it comes to infrastructure. Yes, I don't think there's going to be a decrease.
I can see they're really doing something, because
with the roads especially.
That one I will appreciate. Something is really happening, though. The only
but the roads are also still being swept away by the floods.
They are swept away. So we need some concrete innovation, renovation, if we are to say, not just kind of a surface.
The roads are being put there, but they are being swept away by the floods. And then you also have cracks developing in new bridges. Yes, in new bridges. So what is that? Is that still, it boils down to corruption as well, mismanagement of funds?
But
how do you put a bridge and not even a year passes and it's already cracked? You know,
I have a feeling. You see, now for example, like here in the division, we are seeing corrupt MPs charged, very remanded.
Yes.
So I'm asking myself, what is happening in the ministries? We already see what's happening in the parliament. People are trying, people are caught with bags worth $1.5 million. So what is happening in the ministries? That could explain.
And I think this is what, and it's very true what you say, and I think this gives you a sneak peek. Very unfortunate incidents happening here, because these were on the three legislators were on the budget committee.
Exactly.
You see, now because this is the national cake and everyone is trying to eat into it, to tap into it, and see, this is now how they get to come in and say, you know what, we shall give you another 20%, like in this case what happened, we shall be able to lobby so that you're able to get, you know, an additional 20%. Now the need down there, not even talking about this upper strata, yes, and those are the legislators, the decision makers really. When it comes down now to the different ministries and all that, they are, you know, anticipative. They are literally anticipatory, wondering, are we still going to be able to get enough money to run the different programs that we have? Are we still going to have, or we're going to be slashed? Now this is where they come in and, you know, unfortunately come in and are able to turn quite a few heads in that manner.
Absolutely.
You know? Instead of knowing that we have a National Development Plan 3 and we are working on it, and these are our focal areas. And why are they our focal areas? Because A, B, C, D, if we have the infrastructure, we have the energy coming in, then we have we have the farmer down there receiving the financing that they should be having. This farmer is going to be able to plant. This farmer is going to be able to access the right infrastructure, the right cold chain, the right car, to be able to put their fresh produce and move on a good road.
Absolutely.
But then when it comes down to each one fending for themselves, as it used to be, different sectors, yes, used to actually fend for themselves and say, you know what, agriculture got this, and this got this sector got this, and this sector got this, and then it would be battle of the sectors. But now this has changed into programs, and you get a lot of integration really coming through. I'm really quite excited. I want to see how it's going to work out this time. But of course, from my end, I do believe that infrastructure is still going to get enough, some boost. Agro-industrialization definitely is still going to get some boost. But I think there's quite some monies as well coming in for mineral development. We've seen quite a lot of stories coming in on the untapped potential up in these different places, whether it is Kasanda district, whether it is Kapchora Gold, whether it is in these areas. And then you have different people coming in and actually exploiting, because there is no particular platform, legal platform or government monitoring. Do you think that will happen?
I hope so, because for the past years we have had most especially thing about gold. There's a time it was put on hold since the government was still revising the levies to be done. But thank God, by I think mid last year, it was all resolved, and now we see even quite a number of private individuals that are participating into this. But the thing is, however much we have all these minerals, and we have the different participants, creating a conducive environment for them to be in position to get these minerals and export them for the benefit of this country is quite very crucial. The only challenge is the greed that is associated with minerals, with the desire of a few people using their governmental positions to have control of the sector, of the mining sector, be it gold, be it any other. And that has been highlighted as well. Some land grabbing here and there in regards to that. Some people being evicted of the land. Exactly. And who's evicting these people of that? And others using state operatives and different militia. Military personnel, not militia. We have people personnel coming in to forcefully put a blockade and say you cannot enter this. So you have quite a lot of influence peddling in that. But the great thing about it is that you understand how a lot of focus was put on land. Bibanja holders and all these evictions coming in, and a lot of spotlight was put on that. So it was out in the open. Any small thing that came up, whether it was someone using the police force, it would immediately cause ripples. I believe if we had the same in regards to the minerals and all this, you would have less and less influence peddlers beginning to get into that, because then you'd have lots of people beginning to find out what is happening in this area, who is behind it. And most of these people who are trying to push from behind in such ways do not want the spotlight on them. They want to do it very quietly. This is some interesting news coming in. We are very excited about this one, because we get to see a recap basically on what happened in the previous reading, but as well as the implementation, and we are very keen on finding out how it is going to be. Let's take a short break and we'll be right back with Karibu East Africa.